we've looked at domain, we've looked at range, we've looked at domain from an equation, and now we're looking at it from a graph. And what you guys need to focus on is basically going to be domain is left to right, and your range is bottom to top. So let me explain what that means. This equation here, if I want to check to see if it's a function, we can do the vertical line test. And here's a vertical line, conveniently. And if I slide this across, I notice there's no point where there's two pieces of the graph under the line. So this is definitely a function. But that line will also help me with the domain, because think about this graph, you see this arrow pointing to the left. It goes left forever. So that means my least value is going to be negative infinity. As I bring this red line along, I just think, okay, when does my graph stop moving to the right? And it's right there. So the graph stops right here. 1, 2, that x value is 3. And that x value is included because I don't see an open circle. There's no graph over here. So again, left to right. Now, if we're going to do range, we want to think bottom to top. So here's my bottom to top line. There's no graph down here, nothing, nothing, nothing. Right there is my first value for the graph. So my bottommost value, which is going to be my least range value, is 0, and it is included. And then as I follow this graph up, oops, wrong one, select this, up, it continues up, up, up. Even though it looks like this line stops, it doesn't. It will continue up as it moves to the left. So this will go all the way to infinity, which we will never include. If we look at the next one, my domain, negative infinity, right? It's way over here, which is good. So that's going to be from negative infinity. And then as my line moves across, oh no, it got stuck behind. As my line moves across, you can see we're good, we're good, we're good, and right here it stops. There's a gap. So it stops when it gets to 1. Sorry, that shouldn't have been there. So it gets to 1, and we include the 1 because that's a closed circle. It doesn't start again until here, which is at 2. So it gets over to 2, and then it goes all the way to infinity. We do not include the 2 because that's an open circle. For my range, let's move this to the front as well. For my range, first part of the graph is right here, right? There's nothing down here. We get there. That's negative 2. Then it jumps immediately, so it only exists at negative 2. That means we have negative 2. That's it. And then it goes up again until it gets to 1, and then there's nothing else. So we're going to add 1 to this with a union, and that's my whole range. This is a function because when I was checking the domain, I never had an instance of the graph being overlapped under the graph. Last example, from the left, we slide over, nothing, 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 nothing. Sorry, we're good, we're good. So this is a function, right? It passes. And there's graph forever because that arrow points to the left. So we're good, lots of graph, lots of graph. It keeps going. So there's no breaks, no nothing. So this is negative infinity to infinity. And then when I think about my range, start at the bottom. The graph goes down forever, so that's already going to be negative infinity. And I drag this up, just this up. Come on, line, there you go. And we're good, and right here it stops. So my uppermost value is 2, and that's included. Other possibilities you might see. These graphs have asymptotes, these two graphs. So what I want you to imagine is there's a invisible wall here, or an invisible ceiling for that matter. This one has 2. And then it also has one of these horizontal ones. And basically this is just going to break apart your domain and range. So for the graph on the left, the domain goes from negative infinity. It continues until it hits this value, so negative infinity. It goes all the way to 1, 2, 3. And then it has to take a break, and then it'll start up again at 3 and continue to infinity. So it stops at the wall, jumps over it, and then keeps going. The range starts at the bottom, and it increases until it hits this ceiling, which is at 1, 2, 3. And we never include 3, and there's no graph above that. This is a function, right? It passes our test. For For this middle one, we have 2 jumps, so we need 3 chunks. We need negative infinity to negative 1. We need negative 1 to 1. And then we need 1 all the way up to infinity. For the range, we start at the bottom. We can get all the way up to 1. We got to jump over it, and then we start again. 1, and we go all the way up to infinity. Still a function, right? Passes the vertical line test. This last graph is an ellipse, which is like a squished circle or an oval. Here's the leftmost, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. We include that. And the graph keeps going. It doesn't matter that it happens twice, and it gets all the way over to 5. And for the range, the bottommost value is negative 2. And it keeps going all the way up to 2, all included. This one, however, is not a function because the vertical line test, you have more than one place under the graph, so it fails.